President Cyril Ramaphosa is desperately trying to woo investors before Moody's reviews the country's credit ratings in 3 months' time. Now, last week, Moody's downgraded South Africa's outlook to negative, citing Eskom as the country's biggest risk. Now, Professor Mark Swilling is from the University of Stellenbosch and believes that Eskom needs an integrated plan. Prof, a very good morning to you. He joins us from our Cape Town studios. Mess up Eskom and you mess up the country. And you say the key players are doing just that. Who are you referring to here?
Well, I'm basically referring to the three ministers who are primarily responsible for making sure that we have some kind of integrated plan. And that includes Gwede Mantashe as the Minister of Minerals and Energy, who is responsible for the Integrated Resource Plan. Second is Pravin Gordhan, who is responsible for what is known as the Eskom Plan. And thirdly, the Minister of Finance, who is responsible for the budget and in particular how to manage the debt.
You say that they've missed 3 golden opportunities in the recent past. What are these?
Well, the ANC NEC that took place a couple of weeks ago issued a statement which said that their preference is for the lowest cost option when it comes to South Africa's energy future. The Integrated Resource Plan came out about a week later and laid out a couple of options for the energy future of South Africa. One of which was the lowest cost option, which is renewables and gas. No more coal-fired power stations. But that is not the option that was selected. The option that was selected includes 1,500 megawatts of new coal-fired power, which adds an additional 100 billion rand onto the cost of the energy we're going to need in the future. So there was a missed opportunity. The second is that the Eskom paper published by Pravin Gordhan and his ministry provided for a restructuring of Eskom, but it did not describe how the debt was going to be managed. So that, I think, was another missed opportunity. And the job of how to manage the debt is the responsibility then of the Minister of Finance. And in his budget speech, he said, I am not going to consider debt relief until the Eskom plan announced by Pravin Gordhan is working. The problem is the plan can't work without Eskom debt relief. So we have 3 pieces that don't quite mesh together. And by the way, Pravin Gordhan's Eskom plan repeatedly referred to a preference for the lowest cost option.
Yeah. Prof, now what that talks to is the misalignment of government policy, and it's something that you point out in your opinion piece. What role should the president be playing, therefore, here between these 3 ministers?
Did send a statement to the United Nations Climate Summit that also took place recently. And in that statement, he made a very bold statement, which refers to South Africa accepting that the global energy transition to renewables is underway, that climate change is a very serious threat. South Africa takes it seriously and its responsibility seriously. And he referred to the establishment of a just transition fund to fund the negative impact or to mitigate the negative impact of the closure of the coal mines, which has to happen anyway over the next 20 years, whether no matter what, just because all those power stations are actually quite an integrated conception of what's possible. But the 3 documents that we have now received to implement it don't quite align and add up. So he should bring them all into a room and make sure that there is an integrated plan that makes sense and is indeed the lowest cost option.
Prof, just as a final question to you, and very quickly if you can, the 450 billion rand debt is a massive issue for the power utility Eskom. Have at least the two ministers, Pravin Gordhan and Tito Mboweni, set out a clear plan on how to manage this, and what's the risk if they haven't done that?
That is the most problematic part of the misalignment. So as you said, the debt is north of 450 billion. Eskom, however it is restructured, on whatever terms, can handle at most 200 billion, can pay off, can service the debt on 200 billion. So 250 billion does need to be parked off somewhere. It doesn't mean being written off or anything like that. It means parked off somewhere in some kind of special purpose vehicle, ring-fenced, made ratings neutral, and correlated with a set of funding flows from the budget, from Eskom, and from other funding, for example, climate funding, on condition that decommissioning of the coal-fired power stations is accelerated by a little bit. So that kind of debt arrangement was being discussed, was raised in the press, was referred to in the presidential task team. But that's not.
All right, Professor Mark Swilling, thank you very much there for your time. Apologies for that line. He was on the Skype line, not doing so well right towards the end. He recently wrote a piece on Eskom and its liability for the country.